This is Michelle Barr with Firefly Business Group. Thank you for your time to review our tool named ProData Export Utility. This utility will allow you to select any data within the Acctivate database and easily export to Excel. The utility is read-only and access is controlled by knowledge of the admin password. Custom queries can be written by you, your team, or the Firefly support team can write them, and then we can import them into your system. Let's show you the tool. It will come with 5 standard default profiles. The first default that are pre-written for you. The first default profile is going to be our customer contact list. That is going to be pulling information from the contacts tab of the customer. The second one is an email list. The email list will be pulling email address information from the contacts tab, the ship to tab, and the customer bill to tab. Customer information list will be any of the information that is defined for that customer, such as branches, customer type, etc. That's going to be mainly on this customer tab, but also throughout some of these other tabs as well. The customer ship to is specifically going to be grabbing information from the ship to tab. The product's attribute list will grab any of the information that is related to a product setup. At any point in time, you could run any of these standard queries and preview them in the screen and or run and export to Excel. But let's go into how we can edit one of the standard queries that come with the system. So let's edit our customer information list, and to do that, we'll need to go into admin mode. The password for admin mode will be shared upon purchase. If I wanted to adjust the information list, I would hit the edit button. And that will give me a standard query that's already been pre-written for you. You can modify this query by just typing in column names that you would want to see, such as we can add the price code and the status column. The status column would be identifying whether or not your customer is active or inactive. The status is the name of the field within the view. The standard query that is provided with the utility has already limited the status to be a 1, which would identify that it is only active customers. If I remove that, and by adding this status column to the query, it's going to then give me all customers, and the status will tell us if they're active or inactive. So let's save that. And let's preview those results. And you'll see customer information, the columns that were there. And then if I scroll to the right, then I'm going to see my price code and status column as well. I don't think I have inactive customers, but I think you get the idea. If I don't like the changes that I've made, or if I ever want to go back to the standard default query that was provided with the tool, I could simply delete this from the list, close the utility, come back in, and it will add it back to the list with the standard default query that was written when you purchased. So that's how to modify one of the default profiles. Let's show how to add your own profile. The first example that we're going to do is what I would call a simple query. So any of these queries that we're going to create and add to the custom profile section is always going to start by clicking on the new query button. And you'll put in a name. So we're going to write one that gives us a price list. And you could repeat it here or put in products, any kind of information that is helpful to you later. The search will give you allow you to filter the list of views. These are all the Acctivate views that come with the system. In the help section on the Acctivate, help.acctivate.com, you can do a search and find data view list, and it will list each of the views within their database and explain to you a definition of what that means, if that's helpful for you. In this case, I know I want prices, so I'm going to type in the word price, and it's going to find the word price somewhere in one of those titles and allow me to select that. The product price view is what I want to use. By default, they're all going to come in here alphabetical, and we can have them all be selected because I want all the fields, or I can uncheck this and only select the fields I want in my particular query. At this point, I want my product ID, price code, price type, and price. They will come in here to alphabetical, but we could rearrange them. So let's say if we want the drag and drop the product ID to be first, and I want my price to be last, then it'll save that, and when you export it, it'll always do them in that order. This order by results will determine how I want to alphabetically or numerically manage the data in each column. So let's say I add the product ID column, and I want it to be ascending, which means I want it to be alphabetical. I'm going to save this. And I'm going to close, not because I have to, but I want to show you what a user would see versus a person who is going to be designing queries. At this point in time, you'll see I've now added price list as a custom profile. I can simply come in and choose the run and export to Excel, or I can preview my results and see if I'm happy with the results first before I run and export to Excel. Your choice. You will see that it remembered the order of the columns, and it did take the product ID and alphabetize it for me, as we indicated when we wrote the query. You can also take this list, go ahead and make all of your changes, and you could go into Acctivate and choose their import data, and then create a mapping to update your product list, your product prices. So that would allow you to, within Excel, maybe add a 5% increase within Excel, or possibly just change a few prices, delete what you don't want in the list, filter the list, any opportunity within Excel you have, and then when your final list is ready to go, then you would come in here and then you can update Acctivate. Let's try a custom query that is a little more complex. So I'm going to go back into app mode. And I'm going to create a new query. And this time I'm going to create an order list. Okay, list of sales orders. But I'm not going to use my query builder. This is going to be used if I'm doing a simple query. I'm going to go straight to custom query, where I'm actually going to type SQL syntax. For those of you that don't know SQL syntax, I can tell you that Google is your friend. There are some books out there where it can get you started, and you could also look up lots of things on Google, such as we do. I've already pre-typed this. I just copy and pasted it for you. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is just hit this test button to make sure there's no problems with my query. And it seemed to turn out results without any issue. So I am going to save this because I think I like it. But then I realized, well, if I've been an Acctivate customer for a long time, then it's going to show me every order that has ever been in the system. So you can see this goes back quite a bit of time. And possibly I want to not just see every single, limit the number of orders from the point of a date, but this time what I want to show is I want to limit it and only show certain statuses. Because right now this list is showing me everything that's a quote, a booked order, back order, etc. So we can add the status list, or what we can do is we can edit it and create a parameter, which the parameter is going to allow us to filter the list on the fly. So let's go ahead and set up a parameter called order status. And it's going to be, the data type is going to be a string. And I want it to have what's called a subquery, which is going to actually select the available order statuses from the system. If I click on the test button, then it's going to show me these are the available statuses. So you can write this a little bit more fancy, and we can put in a case statement where it's going to list what these letters mean, but a lot of users do already know these letters from reports. And if you're not sure, Acctivate has on their help.acctivate.com what's called a code list. So if I choose and I come down here, some of my order statuses are going to be in this box right here. A B is booked, an S is scheduled, a K is back ordered, etc. So after I have that, I'm going to go back to my query, and I'm going to put in the word where, order status equals, and if I click on that parameter, it will add in a parameter into my final query to allow a user to select. So let's save that, and let's close it and see how a user would see this. Here's my order list, and now I can choose which status I want. So if I want to see booked orders, then there's only one in the system. If I want to see quotes, possibly, you're going to see I get all these as quotes. Once again, we could have added the status as a column, but we're just trying to demonstrate how to write a custom query and possibly, if needed, how to add the parameters within it, which will ask users different questions. Now, one thing I want to show you, so when I run and export this to Excel, is mine has this possibly unfavored light blue in color and maybe the gray at the top. So what you can do is go into options, and this is a per user experience, to where you can say, so this is my header, my odd columns have no color, my even columns have a color, but let's just say we have no color on either column. We have borders checked, you can uncheck them. But then the rows itself, let's just get rid of the extra color, or maybe we can, we appreciate it, but we want something possibly a little less offensive and say a light gray, which kind of looks like this right here. So now if I run and export to Excel, it's going to remember those parameter changes and allow me to save that as to how I always like things to look in Excel. Another way that we can do things with this utility is that we can provide a query that we've written for you. So you contact us, you need a query, or maybe somebody on your team created a query and you want to not have to rewrite the entire query per utility, because this utility is specific to each desktop, and what's going to show up in their list is exactly what you've imported into their list or set up manually. So let's just go with first that I have the order list, and I think it's fabulous. I want to use it again, and I have a user in my staff that I want them to have that order list. What I would do is hit the export button, and it's going to open up a window, ask me for a save location, and it gives it a special type of file. So we're going to call it order list and hit save. And you'll see this order list FFPD is created. Then I could just move that, and I would recommend that you keep a library of these. Move that to the, go to the workstation and then import it. The same way I'm going to import this open purchase order list that I pre-created prior to this. So if I hit the import, I'm going to choose the open POs, or basically it's open purchase orders. Then you'll see that it is now in my custom profiles. And this has a parameter looking for a date. So I can change what date that I want. Preview my results if I'd like to just kind of see it on the screen, and or I could run and export to Excel. This concludes the demo portion. And I'd like to explain a couple more things that you can distribute the ProData utility to any computer on the network, as demonstrated, and import queries only needed for that workstation. In many circumstances, we have found that when a customer requests a report to be written from the Firefly team, they will also ask that we can design it to be exported to Excel. One nice thing that we found about this ProData utility with some of our customers is we can actually design a query faster than we can design a report in some circumstances, not all. But what that provides you as the customer is, because it's faster, it's less time, and saves you money. You may have also noted that when going into the query editor, that there is a stored procedure button. This right here is very advanced functionality. But what it does is a function that allows us to build advanced solutions for customers to process and return data to Excel, while the user provides input as to what they need processed. For example, we will be providing a store procedure plugin tool for ProData that will allow different options. So watch for these coming. But the first one we plan to release is a material requirements planning, which will allow for multi-level build materials to determine exactly what we need to purchase. We're also looking at doing a separate one for advanced cycle count processes, both coming in the near future. So please stay tuned for our announcements, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video for Firefly ProData Export Utility. If you would like to purchase the utility or get more information, then contact me at the following phone number or email address. Thank you, and have a good day.